For the second time in 3 seasons, Michigan State is moving their last game out of Spartan Stadium and into Ford Field, and it is absolutely the right decision.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to the special episode of Locked On Spartans. You will hear from us later today. It's going to be me and Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. We're going to break down tomorrow night's game. But again, later on tonight, we're also going to see how this Michigan-Maryland game unfolds here too. But I had to riff on this Ford Field thing. I feel like this deserved its own little episode here. So here we go. You know the news by now. It was announced that, yes, the finale for the regular season, Maryland versus Spartans, will be played at Ford Field. And like, if you listen to any of the 40,000 episodes in the past where we talked about the Penn State-Michigan State game being moved to Ford Field a few years back, you know exactly what my thoughts are. Like, it is 100% the right move to move this game to Ford Field. Now, I will say this right now. Like, who is allowed to grieve? Who is allowed to be upset? Anyone that lives on the west side of the state, okay, especially those season ticket holders. Let's say you live in Byron Center or Holland, and, you know, now you got to, instead of making an hour and a half drive, you got to make a dang near 3-hour drive to come watch this regular season finale. Like, I got nothing to say to you guys that's going to make you feel any better. Business owners in East Lansing, it's not the most robust attendance, but still, anything on the bottom line helps. So, like, I'm not here to say that, hey, everyone should be happy about this decision, but I think the majority can agree that this is the right move here. And why do I say that? Because I saw the crowd last year win, and you're in a bowl game. That's something to play for. It's not like, hey, we have been going bowling quite consistently the last few years. You're like, no, if you won the last game last year, you break your little bowl game-less streak. It's senior day. It's something big to play for, right? In year one under Jonathan Smith, and was that crowd at Spartan Stadium even half full? Now, if you want to go ahead and just, you know, we could all lie to ourselves and say, well, hey, Matt, the announced crowd for that game was 50,000 fans. Okay, sure, yeah, fine. If you want to say they had 50,000 fans last year, then you could also say I'm 6'5" and I own a yacht in the Seychelles. I mean, how far do we want to take these lies? No, attendance numbers are not often what your eyeballs see. And that's what I saw not just last year, but 2019. Very similar game. Win and you're in a bowl game. I remember being one of 40 people in the stands for that one. How about 2017? When Michigan State was on the cusp of securing a double-digit win season? There was about 17 people in the stands for that game. So I get it. Like, you might reference the 2021 season, that last game against Penn State, the last game for Jaden Reed, Kenneth Walker. Okay, like, great. That was a sold-out Spartan Stadium. Lean in, though. I got a little secret for you. This isn't going to be a 2021 season. Like, there's not going to be a should-be Heisman player playing their last game in Spartan Stadium. This is not going to be a highly attended game, should it still have been in Spartan Stadium. So, yeah, I've seen the crowds in the final games at Spartan Stadium in the last week with something to play for in years past. And you know what else I saw? I saw the crowd 2 years ago at Ford Field. Nothing to play for. The season was a joke at that point in the season. The storyline going into that game was, is Michigan State going to even score a touchdown in that one? And turns out the answer to that one would be a resounding no. But guess what else we all saw? A sold-out crowd in Ford Field. Like, it is not even comparable. And guys, I have it on really good accord that the players are also thrilled by this news to play the last game of the season in Ford Field, okay? Now, I'm not going to go out here and claim that every single player loves this, but no, I've got a decent enough connection that has let me know that it is an overwhelmingly positive thumbs up for the players. Because what would you rather do? Play in front of metal bleachers in 28-degree weather, or would you rather play in front of a packed crowd in a climate-controlled NFL stadium in front of fans that, well, are showing up to the game? Now, am I going to say defiantly that this game will for sure be sold out? You're going to see 65, 70,000 in Ford Field? It wouldn't surprise me. But even if you don't, I can guarantee you that you're going to get 2, if not 3 times the amount of fans that would have showed up to Spartan Stadium in that final week. We're not going to do this whole line game of, oh, it's senior day, they're going to be ripped off of their last home game. But quite frankly, the fan base did not make it worth the tradition keeping. I'm sorry, that is just brutally honest, but look at it the last few years. It is filled most this season. I will say this, I'm not going to go ahead and just rip this fan base to shreds, okay? Most of the season, Spartan fans do a good job of filling up Spartan Stadium. Even last year's game against Purdue, Friday night, bad weather, 2 bad teams. Okay, I thought it was actually pretty well attended, okay? But this is a problem that you get with this Thanksgiving week game, is that, okay, a lot of the students are home. A lot of people just want to stay and do their own family thing. I mean, this isn't a Michigan State-specific problem. If you don't have a marquee rivalry game that week, well, attendance nationally is kind of iffy that whole week. So what do? You just move it to an area with about 100,000 living alumni in this tri-county area around Ford Field. And I know it sounds like I'm blaming the fans. I'm sorry if I've already done too much damage to, make this a moot point. But I'm not trying to pin blame on the fan base for not showing up over the holiday week. It just is what it is. And the best place to move it, well, is around where your fan base is the biggest. And sure, there is a sizable chunk in the Lansing area. I'm not stupid. I fully acknowledge that. But there's also way more in the Metro Detroit area, okay, that want to enjoy a game, not traveling in a climate-controlled building to watch, the Michigan State Spartans with people they have in town for holidays. So I got to say, I was a little interested if this was driven by TV networks like it was 2 years ago. NBC was the one that ultimately kind of sort of made the call on this game being moved to Ford Field. But no, a report by David Harns of Spartans Illustrated would pretty much say that it's not the case whatsoever, and that your athletic director, Alan Haller, decided this was just the best option. David Harns tweeted out, "I was curious, so I figured you might be as well. I asked some questions. Moving the Maryland game to Ford Field was entirely MSU's decision. It was no I'm going to screw up this word. It was no agreement to the Big Ten, and it was not pushed by a TV network." That's how we're going to get out of that big word that David Harns used. It was a choice to embrace MSU's growing ties to Detroit. So, guys, last November, as snow is falling on Alan Haller's loafers on the sideline, and he's looking up at 41 Rutgers points and even less fans in the stands, doing this is probably a very easy decision. I mean, I know that fans can get passionate about this. They were 2 years ago. You can probably tell by the tone of my voice, I'm oddly passionate about this decision. And no, I don't think that every single game should be moved to Ford Field in the future. I just think that this week specifically, a very, very tough draw on Thanksgiving traditionally, even tougher when the opponent is Maryland. It's the right call to make. So there we go. We're going to riff a little bit about basketball. Again, we're going to get way more into this Iowa game later on tonight in a different episode. But first, you need to talk everyone's ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. Now, I love using FanDuel's live betting features for many reasons, but just like we talked about with the fourth quarter comebacks, those happen all the time in the NBA. So if you're feeling hot about a team that's down 12 going into the final quarter, well, just go ahead and wager a few nickels over at FanDuel. Make the game a little more exciting. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, guys, that's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so getting into basketball, which I'm starting to sweat. And not even necessarily about Michigan State's game tomorrow. You guys know I will be a nervous wreck over that one. But tonight, on this Wednesday, Michigan State can get a share of the Big Ten title should the Crab Five of Maryland win at Chrysler Arena, Chrysler Center, whatever it is. Michigan, right now, 1.5-point favorites on FanDuel. Okay, BartTorvik.com suspects a 76-75 Michigan victory. All right, so on the topic, by the way, of ticket sales, lack of attendance or whatever, if you're a Michigan State fan in the Ann Arbor area and you want to potentially see Maryland secure a Big Ten title for Michigan State, Tickets are going for as low as $4 right now. So again, not to throw stones in a glass house, we just talked about attendance issues. I think it is a little different for football. Filling a 75,000-seat stadium in Spartan Stadium for a struggling team in bad weather, whereas is Michigan even going to sell out their game for a team that holds its own destiny in the Big Ten chase, and it's only a 14,000-seat arena? I mean, yikes. Anyway, go Maryland, go Terrapins, go Crabs, whatever you want to call them. Just go. Just win the thing for us, please. God, I just want to perspire a little less tomorrow for that Iowa game. And speaking of the Iowa game, again, I'll say it for a third time, we're going to be joined by Trent Condon of Locked On Hawkeyes. We're going to get more in depth, but here's just a brief overview. If you only got a few minutes to care about this game for Michigan State tomorrow. So Iowa, 15-14 on the season. It has not been a good year. They are 6-12 in Big Ten play, and it is not looking too great if they'll make the Big Ten tournament or not, but hey, that gives them something to play for. Hey, this is their last call to have something to smile about at their end-of-the-year banquet. So this will be a hungry Iowa team that maybe comes on with some urgency. Like, this isn't going to be a walkover game, guys. Well, tell that to any opponent in the last 9 games for Iowa, though. They've only won 2 of their last 9 games. But anyway, here's what they're good at. Like, they're not a completely trash team. Like, their offense, it's a classic Iowa team, really. Like, they're really good at offense, not so good at defense. Their offense, 31st in the nation in adjusted offensive efficiency at 117.8. They have a top 20 effective field goal percentage. They shoot 37% from 3, which is top 25 nationally. And they're also very good at taking care of the ball. Top 15 in turnover percentage when they have the ball. Now, here's what they're bad at. Okay, again, this is just classic Fran McCaffrey basketball. 176th nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency at a smooth 107.3, if that number means anything to you. Now, they're even worse at rebounding. They are around 300th nationally at both offensive and defensive rebounding percentages. And that's what happens when arguably your best player in Owen Freeman bows out halfway through the season with an injury. This is not a vertically abundant team. Like, there's going to be a lot of small ball played here by Iowa, and that is reflected on the boards. Whereas Michigan State, well, as you know it, they're top 20 nationally in both offensive and defensive rebounding percentages here. Iowa also doesn't really get to the line all that often. Their free throw rate is good for 337th nationally, and even when they do get to the charity stripe, they shoot about 70%, which is just a tick below the national average. So as good as they are shooting the ball from three-point land, their long twos, what have you, they kind of struggle from the free throw stripes. So that's the 4-1-1 in Iowa. Again, I don't know if you heard me the first few times, but we're going to talk about it more tonight. But yeah, just had to get those Ford Field thoughts off my chest. Again, it's weird how passionate I am about this, but I like to see my team play in front of the appropriate amount of fans. And for Thanksgiving week on Saturday, I'll be right here in Metro Detroit. So there we go. I understand if you guys are upset at me, especially if you're a West Sider or a season ticket holder around Lansing, or hey, if you own a bar in Lansing and you actually flourish during one of these game days. I'm sorry, I am. But for the rest of us, good call, Alan. Nice. There we go. All right, guys, we'll see you guys in a few hours. Love you all.